Hello, everybody. Welcome to A Survivor's Guide to Hell, the podcast. I'm Phoebe J. Aubrey, here to walk you through this pessimist-friendly guide to finding the silver lining. Each week, we pick an unpleasant topic and share stories and information that will hopefully help you laugh, help you find a bright side, or even change your perspective on something. Thank you so much for listening. Today, our unpleasant topic is stress. When it comes to stress, we've got some good news for you. Stay tuned. I'll say it. I don't like Pollyanna. You may know Pollyanna for her positive thinking, and I don't have any problems with that. I do have a problem with the scene where good old Polly is eavesdropping on the adults as they snap open pea pods and grumble about their hatred for Sundays. This is when Pollyanna introduces the glad game, which challenges a player to find something to, you guessed it, be glad about. She actually found a way to cut the fluff on positive thinking, and Pollyanna suggested using Sundays as an example. "Alright, Miss Smarty Pants," one of the particularly grouchy adults growled. "What's so good about Sunday?" "Well, there's always something," Pollyanna replied. She ponders for a few long moments, the blue ribbons curling in her blonde hair as she puts her positive thinking to work. Then Pollyanna says, "You'll be glad because there'll be 6 whole days until Sunday comes round again." Well, that's crap. I want to increase mental health. I really do. I want to be more optimistic and look at the shinier side of the penny. But that doesn't count. Being grateful for Sunday because it meant you were about to get a long break from Sunday? That's cheating. Perhaps I need to go watch the rest of the movie. Maybe I haven't given the iconic Pollyanna a fair chance. After all, it seems she has something I don't, an uncanny ability to find the silver lining. She's found a personal way to increase mental health and be more optimistic, even if she cheats to do it. In a world where it is all too easy to find bad news, fake stories, and entertainment focused on others' failings, A Survivor's Guide to Hell has a twofold mission. 1, to create a place where good news, silver linings, and the sweeter parts of our human nature can finally take the limelight. 2, to get better together at recognizing the brighter side of things. Let's increase mental health. Let's be more optimistic. Let's give ourselves permission to laugh a little extra and flex those positive thinking muscles. This doesn't mean ignoring the painful truths of our difficult world, like Pollyanna shrugging her comrades' disdain for Sundays. This also doesn't mean we have to be good at being optimists. In fact, please consider this podcast a pessimist-friendly guide to finding the silver lining. Together, we'll wage an honest exploration of normally negative topics. Each week, we'll pick a new subject, from things like garden pests to homelessness. The goal isn't to prove that every ill is merely a blessing in disguise, but to search for something to smile over, laugh about, or hope for in each theme. So let's get started. Act 1. The dire need to be more optimistic. There's a reason we picked stress as our very first podcast topic. By the time we're done today, you'll understand how chronic stress might be killing you faster, how to beat its effects, and how A Survivor's Guide to Hell wants to help you win the battle. In a world where saber-toothed tigers are no longer a threat, and most of us never face the possibility of starvation, chronic stress has become one of humankind's modern apex predators. An average amount of stress here and there isn't going to leave lasting damage. However, experts report that prolonged stress has a nasty habit of, well, making life suck for a long time. Not only can prolonged stress trigger emotional disorders like depression and anxiety, but it can cause sleep disorders as well. It can make your skin age faster and your hair thin earlier. With your body constantly engaged in the same stress response it once used to escape a mastodon stampede, it has less resources to deal with simple illnesses. Remember that year you got 2 colds in the same season? What a ripoff, right? It could have been because your body was weakened by heavy stress, and your chances of getting and staying sick skyrocketed. It doesn't end there. Chronic stress gets personal. It can use sexual dysfunction to ruin your romantic life. ladies, it can give you menstrual dysfunction too, as if you needed any more misery in that department. What's more, researchers from the Finnish Institute of Health ring one more alarm bell. Heavy stress can reduce your lifespan by almost 3 years. That's right. If your brain is experiencing distress and you don't do something to increase your mental health, you may be forced to pay 3 years for it later. Researchers are even beginning to believe that stress-induced brain inflammation could cause dementia, rendering the years you do have left a lot less enjoyable. Pretty gnarly stuff. What do you do with all of this awful information? Stress out? Nah. For every piece of terrible trivia I just flung your way, there's wonderful bits of information to help keep your head happy, your skin young, and the rest of your body not dead. It calls for a little training in the arts of positive thinking, but it's definitely worth the time. Ready for something to be more optimistic about? Let's get a move on. Act 2. Positive Thinking for Newbies. Time for some statistics that are a little easier to listen to. According to the Mayo Clinic, positive thinkers basically experience the opposite effects of chronic stressors. They're less depressed. They're less likely to pass away early. They look younger for longer. They are better at resisting the common cold. Because positive thinking and high self-esteem are so related, it could even rejuvenate your sex life. To be more optimistic does not mean we ignore the tough facts of life. It does not mean we don't get sad after a breakup, frustrated at losing a $10 bill, or scared when we hear some bad medical news. It does mean we design our next reaction to be realistic and constructive. In other words, when something bad happens, do you panic, or do you think of solutions? Do you shut down and assume the worst, or do you go about the business of making things better? Here's a hint. Panicking and assuming the worst is the kind of thing that makes your hair fall out. Being constructive and working to improve your situation is the kind of thing that will increase mental health. If a negative reaction comes naturally to you, or you don't know how to collect yourself in the face of negative events, here's the good news. You're listening to A Survivor's Guide to Hell, and we've got your back. Keep listening to learn what we discovered about the art of positive thinking. Act 3. How to be more optimistic in a pessimistic world. Alright, put on your big kid smiles because I've got even more great news. Neuroscientists are finding evidence that the human brain has an incredible ability. Even after it has aged, the brain can grow, change, and repair. You can literally select an area of the brain you'd like to improve and make that area bigger. You know how starfish can lose an arm but grow it back? The brain is a little like that, with a few exceptions. 1. We understand starfish arms better. 2. The brain requires conditioning, some form of repetitive training, in order to change. Starfish arms, they just regrow. Starfish don't even need a brain. Cab drivers in London have a larger than average hippocampus, which is the brain area that assists in the memory it requires to remember landmarks, street names, routes, etc. That means an increase in mental health can be something we grow ourselves, like cab drivers grow their memory. So how do we train the parts of our brain that are in charge of emotions like happiness, tranquility, and positivity? Practice, practice, practice. You don't have to be a psychologist to isolate the part of the brain you'd like to train, just like you don't have to be a physical therapist to choose a muscle you'd like to grow. You merely decide what you want more of, like abs for your stomach, or positive thinking for your brain, and start working out. Sure, some research will help you with your technique, but ultimately, any novice can do it. You can get pretty creative when training your brain to be more optimistic. Meditation is a proven option to increase mental health, just like exercise and a little extra time in nature. But if you're concerned that you don't have the time, energy, or skill to exercise those optimistic muscles, no worries. I've included a simple, anyone-can-do-it exercise that takes almost no extra time from your day, and absolutely no money from your wallet. In other words, you have no excuse not to try this. It's called delight points, and it's as plain as this. As you go throughout your day, you ask your brain to be a little more sensitive to the things that delight you. When one of those things comes, you take as little as 5 extra seconds to notice and appreciate it. Do this long enough, and you've conditioned your brain for positive thinking. These points of delight don't have to be grand. In fact, you must give yourself permission for your delight points to be small, corny, or even a little weird. For me, a delight point is when I hear one of my toddlers laughing. See what I mean? Corny! But it brings me delight, so it's on the list. Another delight point is when I pour 15 bean soup mix out of its bag. Maybe you've never heard of 15 bean soup? It's just a plastic pouch full of dried legumes and a flavor packet, with a recipe on the back. Truly nothing special, but when I pour the beans from the bag and into a colander, I love the crisp, pebbly little sounds the beans make when they land on the metal. It's like rain on a tin roof. When the pouch is empty and I'm looking at all those beans in my colander, I can't help but notice how beautiful all the subtle, natural colors are. There's the dusty greens, the understated reds, the pearl whites, and those deep, nearly black blues. Really, it's quite pretty. Weird, right? But again, it brings me delight, so it's on the list. When you include the way the dish tastes when I'm done preparing it, that's 3 delight points, all in one bag of beans. The trick is to truly notice these things when they appear. Usually we overlook them, or they trigger a pleasantness so fleeting that we may forget it instantaneously. With delight points, your job is to grab the feeling when something gives you joy. Take as little as 5 extra seconds to really experience it. Try not to think of what's next on your schedule, how dirty your living room is, or how much your spouse irritated you that morning. In this moment, you are giving yourself permission to do nothing but indulge in the thing that delights you. If you've heard of mindfulness meditation or gratitude journaling, you may recognize that delight points are a very similar positive thinking practice. Engaging in exercises like these comes with a wealth of benefits, such as higher relationship satisfaction, reduced stress, improved focus, and better memory. Some research even suggests that these practices boost your life in such a way that even the most unexpected choices benefit. For example, a social psychology journal reported that high school students asked to keep gratitude journals reported healthier eating. Teens eating healthier? That must be powerful stuff. When you practice positive thinking, you'll find that chronic stress is not your master after all. You do have some control over your own state of mind, and even in the land of mental discomfort, there's some unexpected things to feel hopeful about. Remember that Finnish study we mentioned that terrified us when we learned that heavy stress could literally kill? The same study reported that those with below average stress also died earlier. The study's longest life expectancies belonged to the folks that had average amounts of stress in their lives. It may sound counterintuitive, but stress is what gets you to get stuff done. It's stress concerning the environment that makes us recycle. It's stress concerning our health that makes us exercise. It's stressing over the future that pushes us to try and use the present correctly. Heavy or chronic stress is worth avoiding, but the stress that got you out of bed this morning may not be as fiendish as you think. In the end, it's your reaction to stress that makes the difference. That's the part I'm working on. The fact that you're here listening to a podcast about thinking positive and finding silver linings tells me that you're on your way as well. The truth is, there's plenty in this world to be upset about. Scads of people have even made a living by advertising the most negative parts. Between reporters, YouTubers, newspapers, and more, there's plenty of professionals battling for the chance to tell you what sucks right now. In this kind of climate, it's critical to find balance and search for reminders of life's sweeter parts. We need more players on the positive thinking side of the field. Who knows? If you start collecting uplifting resources now, you may just be winning a few years of your life back later. A Survivor's Guide to Hell is here to help. Put us in your mental health toolbox and visit every Monday for real-life stories, science-backed facts, and simple strategies to help you stay sweet in a bitter world. We probably need you more than you need us. So, what do you say? Let's be friends. That's it for today. Now we invite you to join us for our weekly Silver Liners Challenge, which is designed to be an easy, actionable step you can take to help boost your week and help you survive hell. Here it is, the Silver Liners Challenge. Spend the next 7 days practicing one of the wellness techniques mentioned in this podcast. You can try my Delight Points method, gratitude journaling, meditation, or something you discovered yourself but haven't got around to trying yet. Whatever approach you pick, stick with it for 7 days and record the difference it's made for you. Feel free to share your answers on the comments of our website, www.survivorsguidetohell.com, or on our Facebook page. This is a podcast version of our sister production, A Survivor's Guide to Hell, the blog. This podcast gives you a way to access our content when you're driving, cleaning house, or hunting for mastodons. But if you'd like to see the videos and pictures that often accompany our posts, like how amazing 15 bean soup looks, check out our website at, again, www.survivorsguidetohell.com, where you'll also find much more information, including our storytelling code of ethics and information on how to submit your own story. We'd like to thank Siddhartha and Zapsplat for some of this week's audio. Listen, this is our first podcast! And you could probably tell. We're on a budget and are currently using the recording equipment we already had laying around, plus a homemade mic filter made out of the lid to a peanut container and some old fabric. If you want to hear recordings with a lot less blemishes, please visit the support portion of our site and see what you can do to help us out. Last but not least, our cheesy joke of the week! My son was getting super stressed about learning decimals. I guess you could say it was getting pretty tense. Thank you, and have an excellent Monday!